Hi, darling. You're here for the story. I respect that. Story hunger is the best hunger. I'm Luna, and tonight I'm reading Dan Tansky, who insists he's not dramatic, despite being Dan. Now hush, listen, it gets sharp. The fog in Chicago doesn't sit in an alley. It occupies it, like a squatter with a key to your basement and a grudge against your lungs.
Always figured you'd be frolicking in the forest or something.
Leo said, as we stared down the alley drenched in foggy haze. I shrugged and stared down the mouth of the alley, brick, busted chain link, puddles that didn't reflect light so much as it drank it. I like trees. Wolf chuckled and spoke a vibration in my spine, a second pulse under my own, with a wisdom born of centuries of experience. His words laced with a hint of darkness and an understanding of the human psyche. We hunted the green for millennia, boy, but cities? Humans drag their shame here in buckets. The feasting's excellent. Yeah, comforting, I said. You say something? Leo asked. Nah. Leo Ruiz. We met years ago when he was hiding in a Catholic church. The scent of cold ash clung to the folds of his coat, undercut by the tang of old Chinese takeout leaking from the plastic bags. He was lighting candles and clutching beads. I told him angry spirits weren't haunting him, and he'd be fine by simply turning his clothes inside out. He laughed angrily at me until I pointed to his pup tent and old Chinese food containers and asked what he had to lose. He was freed after 3 horrible weeks of takeout. Been my friend ever since, in the way a man's friend is the one who knows where the body should be buried. He knows a bit of what I am. He's damn smart and brilliant enough to know not to look into too many places. Tonight, that friendship brought us here. West Side Alley, dead quiet, dead lights, dead woman. Not one of my favorite areas, not because it's bad, but because the city gets thin here. Like reality's been scraped too many times by too many desperate hands. The kind of place where myth space leaks through like a basement pipe you keep ignoring until it starts speaking Latin. Leo didn't cross the threshold smart. He called me when he got that feeling. 1 foot in, the lights are out, but that's nothing new. It was quiet. That quiet. No thank you, he said. The world knows when it's prey, Wolf said. She lay face down on the asphalt just past the alley's bend, half in fog, half in a weak orange smear of a street lamp 2 blocks away, name tag turned the wrong way. A work apron with ketchup stain shaped like a small continent. Water still slipped from her mouth like her lungs were tiny, broken faucets. I hated how fast my brain did the math. Second job, night shift, walk home, head down, tired, someone at home waiting, or no one at all, which can be worse, because then the city is the last thing to see you. I thought of her home, of empty arms, or simply empty. How long can you give me? I asked. Robert's sarcasm flickered. A week. Reality translation. An hour, if that. I stepped into the alley. The air changed, like sliding into someone else's breath. A child's voice trembled out of a puddle. Mister, I'm lost. Old trick. They love playing the hits. The temperature dropped in a ring around where she stood, but not the clean cold of winter, This was the cold of things that have never been warm, that don't understand what warm means. The air thickened with false humidity, clammy and grasping, trying to convince my skin it was near something alive, but the pressure was all wrong, pushing where it should pull. My bones recognized the space she occupied before my skin did, a wrongness that started deep and worked outward, the way your teeth ache before a migraine hits. It stretched towards me, then rose in stages, water becoming girl, becoming lie. But through it I saw the real shape underneath, something angular and wrong, wearing child the way I'd wear a coat, sleeves hanging empty in places that should be solid. Glamour is a story the world agrees to believe. My blood doesn't do agreement unless it's honest. One of the perks of being half fae. The puddle girl stepped forward, and the smell hit me. Rot, runoff, oil sheen, and that special Chicago sewer perfume that says we paved a swamp and then got surprised when it held a grudge. Cut the glamour, I said. Doesn't work on me. The shape twitched, the skin wavered, the face smeared like wet ink. Gutter kelpie, a broken water thing, not a girl, not a horse, just sewage. Miskach, it growled. You lured her here, I said, nodding toward the dead woman. Pretended to be a child. Pathetic. Its head rotated unnaturally, sideways, then back, sloshing like a bucket. She stepped into me, Roth. She should have watched where she walked, it said. You killed her like she was runoff. A smile formed, teeth made of broken glass and bottle caps swirling in water. Runoff enters drains. I am a drain. Wolf's amusement turned sharp. Say it, boy. Remind it what you are. I'm the half-breed betrayer your mother warned you about. The Kelpie's glamour snapped fully. The girl collapsed into a surge of filthy water that reshaped into something horse-like, neck too long, ribs suggested by black plastic bags, mane made of hair and shredded fast food wrappers, a city animal, a sewer myth. It hit me. The Kelpie strike was a perfect improvisation. One moment its head reared and teeth unfurled, the next a lash of filthy freezing water erupted from the puddle beneath it. The force caught my ankle with a precision and intent that bordered on surgical, cold, clamping down to the marrow. The world spun as I slammed onto my back, spine rattling against broken asphalt, air detonating from my lungs into a bright white burst. The alley telescoped upward, fog and sodium street lamp bleeding together into a vertical pained swirl. I tried to twist, to dig my hands into the ground, but the Kelpie's water whip cinched tighter and yanked me sideways, dragging me across the slick pavement. Debris tore up my coat, skin, dignity. Wolf's laughter was raw hunger and ancient sport, but underneath was steel, braced us inside me, core and limbs tensing for a counter-strike as I skidded toward the open sewer grate at the alley's edge. Dig in, boy. It's not even trying hard yet, Wolf hissed, his voice resonating in my blood and bones. I clawed for purchase, fingertips scraping against rough brick and the sharp, icy edges of half-melted ice. The Kelpie's grip jerked me onward into wet, staccato bursts, each pulse stronger and more determined. Its body rippled and warped, girl illusion now, a grotesque horse head with eyes of swirling runoff, mane streaming with wrappers and beer tabs. The city's garbage lived in its veins. For a heartbeat, I caught the edge of a dumpster with one hand, tried to anchor myself. The momentum nearly wrenched my shoulder from its socket, but it brought me a single second of slack. The world contracted to the cold, the stink, the relentless pull. Wolf's growl became a roar. We are not prey. The Kelpie sensed the change, the growing anger. The force on my ankle became savage, its next pull a threat to snap the bone and rip me through the iron bars. The edge of the grate kissed my ribs. Then the Kelpie did what they always do when prey resists. They escalate. The whip holding my leg slackened just long enough for me to roll to my side. I sucked in a gasp, lungs burning with fog and alley chemistry. Then another strike landed, a burst of cold pressure around my torso, squeezing and compressing until I thought my ribs would powder. It lifted me, body and all, and flung me further down the alley with contemptuous ease. My shoulder hit wet brick, and the world went briefly black with impact. When vision returned, I saw the Kelpie's true face in the puddle below, a shimmer of drowned children, lost pets, all the city's discards and victims braided together into a tapestry of spite. It hated me because I could see it, and in the between, that was the only reason it needed. Move before he drags you into his womb. I kicked, breaking its grips. Another tendril shot up, seizing my arm and spinning me across the asphalt like trash in the wind. The Kelpie laughed, voice bubbling. Half-breed filth. I staggered up, vision doubling. Neither fey nor human. It hissed, man of scraps, a cast-off creation, betrayer of your own. That's original, I gasped, aiming for bravado and hitting somewhere south of petulant. The Kelpie's answer was to double down, a second hoof of water battering the side of my head, filling my right ear with a whistling pressure that bordered on ultrasonic. I nearly lost my grip. You are the first to see me in a decade. You will see nothing soon. It charged, its body collapsing and reforming mid-lunge, like a bad reflection trying to keep up. I dodged, but not fast enough. It hit like a wave of knives. Cold water forced itself up my nose and into my mouth, choking me instantly. It pushed me against a dumpster, holding me under it, as its voice echoed inside my skull. Too proud thing. You smell of cut truth. You reek of light. The words weren't in English. Not really. But creatures of myth-space don't care about translation. It spoke right into my marrow. The world shrank to a tunnel of gray and black, me at one end, the monster at the other. My chest locked up, the Kelpie's body pressed harder, a vice of garbage and ice wrapped around my torso. Darkness gnawed at the edges of my vision. I thrashed, but it was like trying to claw apart a waterfall. Its form shivered under my touch, yielding just enough to make resistance feel possible, then pushing me when I tried. My chest spasmed, my lungs panicked, my body tried to reject the water, but the Kelpie wasn't using biology. It was using story. You are in water. Therefore, you drown. Leo's voice was somewhere far behind the fog, yelling something I couldn't parse. Wolf was closer. Daniel, your toy. Now. My hand scraped uselessly at my belt. My fingers found the latch. I tore it open. The awkward purge lantern flared. The light wasn't heat. It was the taste of metal on the soul. The drain light ember inside glowed bright orange, radiating entropy against corruption, fueled by a glowing orange coal mined from Chicago's abandoned furnaces. They once melted scrap metal in the early 1900s. Now they burn only in myth space. The ember flared with unpredictability, dissolving filth, lies, and corrupted water forms. The kelpie shrieked, jerking back, skin boiling into droplets. But the blast cost me. I slumped to my knees, coughing up water that wasn't supposed to be inside a living person. Vision smeared with black stars. My lungs burned like they were lined with acid and regret. The kelpie reformed, bigger now, angrier, shaped like a horse made from drain water and trash bags. You think that lantern changes what you are? The voice slithered. Traitor. It barreled into me. The blow cracked my ribs. I slid across the sewer walkway into the mouth of a tunnel. Darkness swallowed us both. The sewer. The air tasted like rust and bile. I was under the earth, the water. I was in its territory now. The kelpie stood over me, dripping filth. Your kind cast you out, it whispered. Your city will kill you, and you still defend them. It leaned close. They don't want you, but we do. Water remembers everything. Its hand, water-shaped like bone, closed around my throat. At least I didn't have a red balloon. My vision blurred. Wolf growled, "Get up." I tried. My limbs felt like sandbags left in the rain. The kelpie squeezed harder. You are trash that learned to walk, a truth that tasted dirt. A mistake. My hand found the lantern. I dragged it up, trying to angle the beam, trying to wake the ember like it was a sleepy dog. Yeah, well, so fuck you. I opened the lantern again, and nothing happened. The ember flickered weakly, like it was embarrassed, like it was being polite. The kelpie laughed triumphant. Train light feeds on order. You are chaos using truth. It mocked me, using the voice it used to kill that poor woman. Please help. I'm lost. My coat that my mom gave me is gone. She works the night shift. I'm so cold. Something inside me went still. Not numb. Not calm. Just aligned. Because I'd learned something a long time ago. Prayer isn't begging. It's tuning. Storycraft isn't fantasy, it's resonance, belief as frequency, emotion as amplitude, language as modulation. And right then my rage had a home. I thought of empty arms, of that woman's uniform, of the way the city eats the tired first. Wolf growled inside my bones, voice low, ancient, a promise with teeth. You will not die in sewage, Daniel. I didn't have to breathe, to argue. The wolf howled, tore out of me as turquoise lighting, a lupin shape of snarling lines that echoed an enemy, a predator made of living light and honest intent. The sewer air trembled. The water recoiled like it recognized a story it couldn't rewrite. Wolf lunged jaws of Lux Vivens, living light, snapping around the kelpie's throat. Drained water exploded in all directions. The kelpie writhed, shrieking, while the wolf pinned it. I lifted the lantern, both hands shaking, and whispered the oldest Storycraft prayer I knew, a truth sharp enough to cut myth. Lies rot. Light remembers. The drain light ember flared brighter than before, feeding off the wolf's resonance. The beam hit the kelpie dead on. Its form ruptured, torso collapsing into sludge, limbs dissolving into threads of foul current. Its scream was half horse, half drowning man. All something deeper. Cast off! Traitor! You belong with us in the filth! The kelpie burst into harmless runoff and spiraled away into deeper myth space. Banished and howling, darkness fell. The lantern guttered. The wolf's shape shrank, then slipped back into me like a tide, withdrawing. I collapsed sideways, shaking. Breathing hurt. Everything hurt. "You good down there?" Leo called faintly from the street above. I coughed. "Define good." "Dan." "I'm alive," I said. "Good enough." Leo helped me up the ladder. When I stood in the alley again, the city felt lighter, like someone unclogged a stinking drain. He eyed my drenched clothes and cracked ribs posture. "You look like you lost." "I won." "Technically," I said. "What was it?" I wiped sludge from my jaw. "Something that hates its existence." Leo smirked. "A lot of that going around." Wolf chuckled softly. "He means humans." I breathed deep. The air tasted like petrichor and ozone. "That's the job," I murmured. "Keep the city clean enough that it remembers itself." "Coffee?" Leo asked. "Yeah," I said, "and maybe a towel." As we walked out of the fog, I glanced back once at the puddle that had pretended to be a child, at the alley that had tried to become a mouth. The woman in the Portello's uniform deserved more than a line in a police report. So I swore to remember her, and that truth settled in my chest like a coal that wouldn't go out. Well, that was delicious. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, and yes, hit the bell. I adore consistent behavior. Drop your questions in the comments about Dan, about me, about what's under your city. And if you're interesting, I might answer. If you're boring, I'll still be polite. Mostly.